Recording in progress.
Good evening. Welcome to the Louisville, Colorado City Council meeting of Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. So I've called the meeting to order, and could we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Maloney?
Here.
Councilmember Lay?
Here.
Councilmember Most? Here. Councilmember Dickinson? Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton? Here. Councilmember Hefner?
Here.
Thank you very much. Could you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First up is the approval of their agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, next we have public comments on items not on the agenda and items on the consent agenda. This is a chance for anyone to speak to any item not on the agenda or on any item on the consent agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please tell us your name and if you're a Louisville resident. It looks like somebody has their hand up. Did you fill out a card for us? Awesome. You can fill that out after you speak. Yeah. Looks like you got here right in time.
Hi. I wanted to talk tonight about wildfire resilience, which is, I know, an issue that's going to be coming before you very explicitly. And what I wanted to bring to your attention is that I've been talking with people in the sort of climate world, in the fire world, in the biology world. And what I'm seeing is that we're getting just wildly contradictory recommendations. I think that Louisville might be in a good position to lead on this issue by either participating in larger working groups or actually getting the state to start convening working groups to look at these issues where the people who actually do have expertise get together in a room and sort out, is the benefit of having a canopy in our cities because it deals with the heat island effect worth the wildfire risk. I don't claim to have any expertise. I just am here to say I see these conflicts existing, and I think we need a mechanism to sort this out. And I think it's bigger than all of us. And the other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about is in one of these meetings, I heard a wildfire expert say, if we don't deal with these issues, the insurance industry will. And that whatever they do, we're not going to like. So I think we have a lot of incentives. We don't want the insurance companies withdrawing from Colorado. And I think we don't want them setting the standards for landscaping, for fencing, and for hardening of houses. So I just urge you to think of ways to address these issues, and I thank you as always for your service and for allowing me to speak.
Could you do me a favor and state your name and whether or not you're a Louisville resident?
I am a Louisville resident. I live in Ward 3, and my name is Catherine Smith, and thank you for the reminder.
Thank you. Anybody else in the chamber like to speak on an issue not on the, okay. I don't see anybody on Zoom. All right, seeing none, we will move on from public comments and move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the consent agenda? Is there a motion to approve the consent? We got a move by
Second?
Councilor Lay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Now we'll move on to council informational comments on pertinent items not on the agenda. Oh, okay, we got a quiet council tonight, so we're seeing none. We will move on to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one item tonight. I'm very pleased to report that we did offer a job to a recovery and resilience program manager. This is a new position with the city. That offer was made on Friday. Yesterday, we have an acceptance, and that person will be starting with us in, I think, 3 weeks. So excited to have capacity to do more resilience and recovery work, and as well as mitigation. That's it.
That's great news. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to regular business. So we have actually one item on the agenda. It's kind of amazing. Ordinance number 1854, Series 2023, an ordinance for extending the city's 3/8 of 1%, 0.375% sales tax for parks and open space purposes and for an additional 10-year period, and imposing an additional 1/8 of 1%, 0.125 sales tax for open space purposes as provided herein, and providing for the submission of a ballot questions to the vote of the registered electorates at the regular election to be held November 7th, 2023. And this is the second reading, and it's the public hearing, and we will be making a decision tonight on this item. So with that, do we have a presentation?
I just got a message from someone, there's no sound on Zoom. Okay, sorry.
Is that fixed? Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Meredith.
I'll keep it really brief. You have a ordinance establishing a ballot question in your packet. Really appreciate the work of the tax task force and other stakeholders in this process. If you have any final tweaks that you want to have us implement, feel free to provide that direction. Otherwise, I look forward to your conversation, public comment, and where you want to go with this.
Thank you. So this is an ordinance. So we're going to go through 2 rounds of public comments. We'll go to public comment first, and then, whatever comments we have in council, we'll go back to public for a second round of comments, and then we will bring about council for discussion and for a motion. So I'm going to go straight to the public comments. So first we have Catherine Smith.
Hello again. I'm not sure whether my comments that I mailed in made their way to you. Does anyone know? They did not? Can I give someone copies to? Okay. I am here tonight just to say I'm really pleased to see the progression on this, and also very pleased to see how well the community was able to work together on this issue. I'm here tonight advocating for some refinements. The first is that I'd just like to see as much separation as possible of the funds, so that for open space, we would actually establish 2 funds, one sort of the general operating account that's split with parks, and the other one being the account that's being set up to acquire new properties and for wildfire mitigation, just to separate those streams of money so that we know what's available and the monies are used for their intended purposes. Also, in the ordinance and the ballot, there's some places where we changed one document without changing the other document. The details are in my written comments, but I'm just looking for consistency across documents. And then in addition, I'd like you to consider explaining that by maintenance that includes the protection and expansion of habitat for native species. I think one of the things that gets lost in The difference between parks and open space is that we do have the intention that our open space not just serve recreational purposes for humans, but also provide habitat for the non-human inhabitants of our planet. And I think that somebody in the last minute for the fourth bullet on page 5 of the ordinance added invasive species control, but meant to add it at another place, like the sentence is just kind of inverted a little bit. So I would recommend clarification of what your intentions are there. And then finally, when you're talking about open space, whether it's in the ballot measure or in the ordinance itself, that in both cases, the words improve and improvement be replaced with restore and restoration. So thanks again for everybody's efforts, and see you again soon.
Thank you. Any other public comment from the chamber? All right, seeing none, we'll go to Zoom. Okay, that'll end the first round of public comments. Do we have any brief comments from the counselors on this particular item? All right, we'll go back to second rounds. Actually, I'll make some comments on the comments that were just made. Those have been noted in a number of emails to us, and so we have an intention of certainly syncing up the language and providing clarification. So we want this to be correct. We want the ordinance and the ballot to have the same language, so we will make an amendment tonight to correct that. So, second comments for people in the chamber. Absolutely. No, it's fine.
I thought I'd have a little more time, but this
If you-
issue is so important to me. I wanted to show up tonight because I haven't really been following what's happened since the wonderful progress that you made at the Parks and Open Space Sales Tax Task Force meeting. And I was really pleased to see that the task force decided to extend the tax and to increase it. The only thing that I don't even know if it made it into this is I remember that Lafayette had 2 different funds, and I know this one still has the same fund for parks and open space. And Lafayette actually had a separate fund just for acquisition. So I don't know how the logistics would work, but I'm hoping that in your discussion, you could consider a dedicated fund for acquisition. And I just want to echo what Catherine said about how important it is our native species. Just kind of random, but how important the open space is to us. My husband, for the first time, became a volunteer bird monitor, raptor monitor for the city of Louisville. I think it's a new program because we hadn't heard of it before. And his hawk, his Swainson's hawk that has fledged, it's off of the nest, and that's why open space is so important to me. It's just that this hawk is going to, it's fledged, it's gone onto a branch, and soon it's going to leave for Argentina, and we're just really excited about that. And it wouldn't be possible if we didn't acquire the Davidson Mesa open space. And I know there's 50 other raptor nests in Louisville, so that's just one, and I'm hoping that you guys can advocate for some acquisition of our really important habitat, especially along Coal Creek. Thanks. Thanks for everything you're doing on this.
Thank you. Any other public comments, either in the chamber or on Zoom? All right, seeing none, we'll go back to the second round of council discussion. Would anyone like to speak? Councilor Most?
Just confirming that you're going to make a motion to do the language fixes.
If I'm happy to start with that, if everybody's fine with that. Usually I wait for your comments, but I'm happy to lead with the amendments. So,
I just want, yeah, that's it.
yep, let's do that first. So first I want to address that there's a few tactical things here will not be in the ballot language because there'll be things that are handled in the ordinance and they'll be handled administratively. So there is plans to do a financial policy that separates this into two funds. That was one of the things that was very clear from the task force, and that was a commitment we made in this process. And so the ballot language really talks about splitting these funds, and so they will be split into two separate funds, and that way there's no mingling or whatever, so it's tracked very, very clearly over time. I know that our finance director and our director of, you got too many like post or whatever, pros, parks, recreate, whatever, all of those things, did a lot of work on just trying to help us understand the financials, and that was a ton of work to do for the 7-year period. But we know what happened over the last 7 years, and it basically was split 50-50, but now there will be no question because there'll be separate funds. There'll be a financial policy that talks about some of the other aspects of this. So some of this will be done administratively, but it'll certainly meet the intention of the comments that were made and the emails that we received. So there's two things that I believe that need to be amended, and these are just housekeeping things. So if you go to page 87 of the full packet or page 3 of this particular item, so if you look at page 3 of the ordinance, there's 4 bullets on that page, and the 4th bullet is the one that was referred to where we need to really clean up the language a little bit. And I believe if we add the word control after species, it does that so that it goes, I'll go to the very end, and invasive species control. I think that was part of what we were looking for, and I think the intent also matches the the charter we have that really outlines this. And so that's a minor thing, but I think it's really important. The other change would be on page 4, and this is when we're really getting into changing the city municipal code. So this is under section C, and under C it is item F, which is a new section. And we have the words that are the old language that we were proposing in the ballot and the ordinance, open space acquisition, improvements, maintenance, and we've changed that. And so it really should be talking about restore, preserve, and protect. And that way that our ordinance updating our municipal code matches the language that's in the ballot. And I think we heard from numerous people on that, and I think that's a good change. So those are the 2 changes that I'm proposing that we make. And I think we have a good product, and I led the task force, but it was incredible efforts by staff, and I really appreciate that. And the director of finance and the members of the task force did way more homework than I expected them to. So they should be proud of the efforts. None of them are here tonight, but I know some of them wrote us an email. And this is a good example of a community working on something together and making a change. And so I'm proud of the work that the city staff did and the task force. So I'm prepared to support this, giving those 2 amendments. Other thoughts?
I've got a motion if everyone's ready. I would move the passage of ordinance number 1854, series 2023, with the 2 specific amendments just described by the mayor.
Second.
Discussion? Councilor Most, you look like you're reaching for your microphone. You're ready. All right. Seeing no discussion, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Hefner?
Yes.
Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilmember Lay?
Yes.
Councilmember Most?
Yes.
Mayor Maloney?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Fahey?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Now we'll go on to the city attorney's report. I'm sorry, we just gave you more work to do.
Thank you. I have no report this evening.
All right. So now we're at council comments, committee reports, and identification of future agenda items. Councilor Lay.
Yeah, I just have one future agenda item. I was talking just before the meeting with the city manager, and we've talked about for some time amending, doing some amendments to the city's energy code. And as I understand it, there's going to be some work that's going to be done between Director Zaccaro and some businesses to suggest some curative language for some of the issues that I think were open or from last year. And we passed that last December with the idea that we would make sure that we cleaned up some of the language that wasn't entirely clear. And so I think I just want to get that on our calendar at some point. And I think that's something that the discussions haven't happened yet, but I think are going to. Is that correct, City Manager?
Yes, I know that building and planning has a technical meeting scheduled to sit down and really talk about implementation with people like builders, architects, developers, to really roll up their sleeves and talk about the technical side of the code, how it actually works, and what implementation really looks like, and what kind of problems are in the code. There were some things that were mentioned during the hearing last year. That's part of that conversation. And I actually think that there are some other ones that we maybe are just starting to uncover as people are really working and getting their hands on this code. And that meeting is scheduled. It's sometime within the next month. I don't have an actual date in front of me. And then the idea is having that conversation, see where it goes, what kind of work we need to do to clean up the code at that point, and then bringing it forward through the process. I'll check with Rob and get a schedule out to you via email.
That's great. If we could just put a placeholder on the fall schedule somewhere. I think this is important, but minor changes to the code, right?
I think there were some changes that were suggested last December by Rick Crone, had a whole list
Right.
of them, and I think there are others that are, I don't know how extensive they are. I think there's a lot of questions
Okay.
that need to get clarified in education that frankly probably needs to happen, and it's pretty technical
Yeah.
stuff.
Well,
so.
let's make sure we have a placeholder on the fall calendar somewhere. Others? So one announcement I want to make tonight is, so for our meeting next Tuesday, we have items on the consent agenda and a first reading. So I'm going to propose that we do that as a Zoom meeting, and it'll be about the length of the one we had in April, just so you know. But we need to have that to be able to set the public hearing date for that particular item. So we do need to have that meeting. So, all right? Great. All right, with that, we're adjourned.